You didn't find this by accident. This message must be meant for you or someone you know. While the world counts down to the World Cup, thousands of mothers are walking through the streets carrying pictures of children who vanished and never came home. And the disturbing part, a lot of people are already learning how to emotionally live around it. Some people say, the country needs hope right now. Others say, how do you celebrate while families are still searching for the missing? But this is where things get deeply uncomfortable. What happens when a society becomes better at distraction than compassion? Because these mothers are not marching for attention. They are marching because someone they love disappeared, ... And the world kept moving. So what does God say when celebration and unresolved grief collide? Because what the Torah, Gospel, and Quran reveal about this might expose something broken inside modern humanity itself. Thousands marched through Mexico City on Mother's Day, carrying photographs of disappeared loved ones' sons, daughters, husbands, brothers, sisters. Some held giant banners, others carried tiny fading pictures. Many chanted, "There is nothing to celebrate." That line hit people hard online because Mother's Day is supposed to be joyful. Family dinners, flowers, phone calls. But for these mothers, it became another reminder that someone they love vanished and never returned. And this is where it gets messy. Because while these women march through grief, Mexico is preparing to co-host one of the biggest celebrations on earth. The World Cup. Stadiums are being prepared. Tourism campaigns are launching. Excitement is growing. But these families are saying something terrifying underneath all of that celebration. You cannot move forward while people are still missing. And maybe that is why this story feels so emotionally heavy. Because deep down, people know this is bigger than politics, bigger than sports, bigger than headlines. This is about what happens when suffering becomes invisible, long enough for society to normalize it. And this is where faith steps in. Here's what's interesting. Judaism repeatedly warns against forgetting people who suffer quietly. Proverbs 31:8 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves." Think about that. The disappeared cannot demand justice anymore. So their mothers become their voices. Their grief becomes public because silence failed them. And then Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That matters deeply here because grief like this changes people permanently. These mothers are not protesting for attention. They're carrying emotional wounds the world cannot see. But here's what people are missing. Judaism does not separate spirituality from responsibility. A moral society cannot pretend not to see suffering once it has been revealed publicly. This might challenge how you see this story. Because Jesus constantly centered people's society overlooked or forgot. In Matthew 5:4, he says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Not ignored, not silenced. Comforted. And then this in Luke 4:18. "He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and set the oppressed free." What makes this powerful is that these mothers are trapped between hope and grief, between memory and uncertainty, between wanting closure and fearing the truth. But here's the uncomfortable part. Christianity does not allow compassion to remain emotional only. Compassion becomes action, which means once suffering is visible, people become responsible for how they respond to it. Now, listen carefully to this. The Quran repeatedly commands justice and protection for vulnerable people. It says, "Indeed, Allah commands justice, kindness. Justice first, not comfort, not convenience. Justice. And then this. And do not consume one another's wealth or lives unjustly." Human life is sacred. Every disappearance tears through families, communities, and generations. But here's what stands out. Islam does not allow society to spiritually detach itself from suffering people. The community remains morally connected to them. Their pain becomes everyone's responsibility. So what do all three traditions say together? Do not look away from suffering. Do not normalize disappearance. Do not let grief become background noise while society celebrates itself. But here's what people don't realize. Modern culture has become extremely skilled at distraction. Entertainment, sports, politics, viral trends, constant stimulation. And maybe that is why these images of mothers carrying photographs hit people so deeply. Because the photographs interrupt the distraction. They force people to stop scrolling emotionally for a second. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Because eventually every society must answer a terrifying question. How much suffering can exist publicly before people simply adapt to it emotionally? And maybe the deeper fear underneath this entire story is realizing how quickly human beings learn to live beside pain that should disturb them forever. So now this turns toward you. Not Mexico, not governments. You, because everyone decides what kind of suffering they pay attention to. This is where the truth becomes difficult. It is easy to feel sadness online for a few moments. It is much harder to remain emotionally connected to pain that does not directly affect your own life. So ask yourself honestly, if someone you loved disappeared tomorrow, how loudly would you want the world to speak their name? How long would you want society to remember them? Because these mothers are carrying photographs for one reason above all else. To prove their children mattered, that they still matter. And maybe that is the deeper spiritual crisis hiding underneath this story. Human beings are slowly becoming emotionally numb to suffering happening around them constantly. But faith refuses to let people disappear emotionally once they disappear physically. So don't just see a protest. See mothers carrying pieces of their broken hearts through crowded streets while the world prepares to celebrate. And ask yourself, what kind of society learns to celebrate comfortably while people are still begging to know where their children went? If you enjoyed this video, keep a like and head over to our YouTube page for more content like this.